Good afternoon, children. Last class, we started the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and we'll be continuing with the same chapter. I'm not asking you any questions from last day's topic because I know you're busy preparing for your periodic test and you might not have even turned the pages, no? Am I right? You are busy learning for your periodic test. No problem. I'll compensate next class. I think I told you to revise everything and come. I haven't forgotten. So we'll have it next day. So let me start with the topic. Now we are going to learn about the history of DNA. I think this slide you had seen. We learned this one, no? This is completed. Am I right? This is completed. This slide have you seen? Tell me. Yes, we learned about 3' and 5' end. No? So this is completed. Now we are moving on to the history of DNA. It was in 1869 that Frederick Miescher, he identified DNA. He was the one who first identified DNA. And he found it as, or he identified it as an acidic substance. He noticed an acidic substance in the nucleus and he named it as nuclein. So he named it as nuclein and this was found in the nucleus and he understood that the substance was of acidic nature. So it was Frederick Miescher in 1869 identified DNA as an acidic substance in nucleus. Later, 1953, many years later, the double helical model, what we have widely accepted and how we are learning now, that is about the double helical model of DNA. And this model was proposed by James Watson and Francis Crick. Watson and Crick, they proposed the double helical model and they arrived at this structure or they arrived at this model based on the studies which they conducted on X-ray diffraction. X-ray diffraction with the X-ray analysis to learn the structure of crystalline substances. So maybe in physics you will learn about X-ray diffraction and all. So with the help of the data which they got by X-ray diffraction, they arrived at a double helical model for DNA. And this data regarding or X-ray diffraction data was produced by Morris Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin. So the X-ray data of DNA structure was obtained by two scientists, Morris Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin, and based on this information which they got from X-ray diffraction, they proposed a double helical model and which got widely accepted. Hallmark of their proposition, one main point of their proposition was the base pairing between the two strands of polynucleotide chains, and this was based on Erwin Chargaff. That we already learned, Erwin Chargaff's rule, A plus T is equal to C plus G. So that we already mentioned in the previous class. See here you can see a double helical model. See children, if you can compare it with a staircase, the side rails are formed of sugar and phosphate. The two sides, the side rails, just assume that this is a staircase. In such a case, you can compare that or the side rails of this staircase is made of sugar and phosphate, whereas the rungs or the steps are made of nitrogen bases. And you already learned that it is a polynucleotide chain and there are two chains which are twisted, which are twined. And you can see that the adenine, say for example, say for example here, adenine of this second strand is pairing with the thymine of the next strand. Similarly, cytosine of one strand is pairing with the guanine of the next strand. So this base pairing keeps them together. There is hydrogen bonding between the nitrogen bases, or the base pairing is fixed, or this base pairing is made strong by means of hydrogen bonds. So it is because of these base pairing between the two polynucleotide strands that they are held together. Once again, it was in 1869 that the DNA was first identified, and that was by Frederick Miescher, and he found out an acidic substance in the nucleus and he named it as nuclein. And several years later, the double helical model of DNA was proposed by Watson and Crick, and they got the sufficient information for arriving at this model from the X-ray diffraction data produced by another two scientists, Morris Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin. And one of the important proposition which they made was a base pairing existing between the two strands of the polynucleotide chains. You already learned that it consists of two polynucleotide chains, and if these two chains have to be held together, there should be some base pairing. So there is the nitrogen bases will pair. Nitrogen base of one strand pairs with the nitrogen base of the other strand, and there is a hydrogen bond in between these bases. And about the pairing, you already learned adenine can pair only with thymine, and cytosine can pair only with guanine. The entire figure you can see everywhere where cytosine is there, guanine will be there. Adenine is there, the pairing is with thymine, and this can be seen everywhere. Complementary base pairing is found, and this base pairing existing between the two strands of polynucleotide chains, it was based on the observation made by Erwin Chargaff. His observation was that for a double-stranded DNA, the ratios of adenine and thymine and guanine and cytosine are constant and equal 1. A plus T is equal to C plus G. The ratios of adenine and thymine and guanine and cytosine are constant and equal 1. Once again, the contribution of Frederick Miescher to this field is that he was the one who first identified an acidic substance present in the nucleus, which he named as nuclein, and later the double helical model was proposed by Watson and Crick based on the X-ray diffraction data produced by another two scientists, Morris Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin. All these names you should be thorough. All the names of the scientists and their contributions you have to learn. Last time, I think for 3 marks, the contribution of a few scientists were asked. So you should be thorough with the names of all the scientists, the year, their contribution, all are very important. And the hallmark of their proposition was the base pairing between the two strands of polynucleotide chains. The two polynucleotide chains are held together by means of the hydrogen bonding between these base pairs. It's a complementary base pairing. It's specific. Adenine can pair only with thymine. Cytosine can pair only with guanine. Nowhere you can see otherwise. Adenine cannot be seen pairing with cytosine. Similarly, guanine cannot be seen pairing with thymine. So this specific pairing, complementary pairing is found, and Chargaff states that, or his rule states that for a double-stranded DNA, the ratios between adenine and thymine and cytosine and guanine are constant and equal 1. Length of the DNA is based on the number of nucleotides present in it. And here you can see the structure of DNA, or a diagram of the double helical model of DNA, which is placed horizontally, and the length is decided by the number of nucleotides. And nucleotides, you know, that is the individual unit. Several nucleotides join together and form the polynucleotide strand. A nucleotide consists of different parts: nitrogen base, pentose sugar, and also a phosphate group. Anna, Sania, Nidhi, Lydia. Okay. So the length depends upon the number of nucleotides present. Phi, I think we pronounce it as phi also. How do you pronounce it in physics? It's a physics symbol, no? Phi or phi? I think in both way I had seen. Okay, let us name it as phi. Phe174, a bacteriophage, has got 5,386 nucleotides. So I told you the length depends on the number of nucleotides present. Bacteriophage lambda has 48,502 base pairs, which is denoted as BP. And you know that in each nucleotide there will be one base, which will be pairing with the base of the complementary strand. So that is more or less same. So 48,502 base pairs. That is the length of bacteriophage lambda, or the DNA of the bacteriophage. Sorry, the bacteriophage lambda. In that you can see it is a virus. You know, bacteriophage is a virus attacking bacteria. It has got 48,502 base pairs. You denote it as BP, whereas in another bacteriophage, Phe174, 5,386 nucleotides are present, whereas in Escherichia coli, it has got 4.6 into 10 raised to 6 base pairs. So depending upon the number of base pairs or depending upon the number of nucleotides, their length can vary. Haploid content of human DNA is 3.3 into 10 raised to 9 base pairs. So if you take the haploid condition, unpaired condition of chromosome, when the chromosomes are not in the paired condition, the length of the DNA is 3.3 into 10 raised to 9 base pairs. Whereas in diploid, it will be double, 6.6 into 10 raised to 9. You know the difference between haploid and diploid. Haploid is unpaired set of a condition of chromosome. When they are in the paired condition, you call it as diploid. So in unpaired condition, it is 3.3 into 10 raised to 9 base pairs. Diploid, it is the double of that, 6.6 into 10 raised to 9. E. coli, 4.6 into 10 raised to 6 base pairs. So from this, you can understand that the length of the DNA can vary depending upon the number of base pairs or nucleotides present in them. We saw the length of the DNA in bacteria, viruses, and also in human beings. Okay, now moving on. The salient features of the double helical structure of DNA. It's made of two polynucleotide chains. Two polynucleotide chains are there which are twined around each, or which are twined around to form a double helical model. The two strands are spirally twisted. As you can see, as you already saw in the figure, it looks like a spiral staircase. It's made of two polynucleotide chains, and its backbone is made of sugar and phosphate, and projecting inside, or from this backbone you can see nitrogen bases projecting inside. So we are going to see the different features, different salient features of DNA. It consists of two polynucleotide chains. At the backbone of this polynucleotide chain is formed of sugar and phosphate, and the bases can be seen projecting inside. The two chains are having anti-parallel polarity. Already you learned what is meant by the 3' end and the 5' end. And here, two strands will be there, and one strand will be having the polarity from 5' to 3', another one 3' to 5'. That is why it is said they are having anti-parallel polarity. One strand 5'. Okay. One strand, its direction will be from 5' to 3'. The other one will be from 3' to 5'. They are having anti-parallel polarity. The bases in both the strands are paired through hydrogen bonds forming base pairs. So two nucleotide strands, or as I told you, two polynucleotide strands are there, and holding these two polynucleotide strands, this is one strand Then we have another strand, and the backbone is made of sugar and phosphate, and arising from here you can see nitrogen bases, and from here also you can see nitrogen bases, and complementary base pairing takes place. A, then this should be T, C, this should be G. It can be in the reverse order also, G, C, A, T, T, A. So complementary base pairing is there, and to keep them together, or the bond which helps in holding these two base pairs together is hydrogen bond. So hydrogen bonds are present between these nitrogen bases. Between A and T, double bond, and between C and G, triple bond is present. Okay. Hydrogen bonds are present between the base pairs, between adenine and thymine, double bond, 2 hydrogen bonds, and between cytosine and guanine, 3 bonds are there, 3 hydrogen bonds. So here also you can see the 2 complementary strands. Now they are joined, not joined together, 2 separate strands. One strand here, those yellow. So this is the phosphate group, this is sugar, and this is nitrogen base. So this form a nucleotide. So several such nucleotides are there, and you can see the other strand, 2 strands are there, and the pairing you see A and T, C and G, and A this side and this side T, that also can come, but always the pairing will be between A, T, C, G. And we learned between A and T double bond, and between C and G triple bonds are present, hydrogen bonds. Okay. Purine comes opposite to pyrimidine. Already we learned about the different purines and pyrimidines. So here purine is paired with pyrimidine. Purine will be paired with pyrimidine, or pyrimidine will be paired with, pyrimidine will be paired with purine. Vice versa also. Purine to pyrimidine or pyrimidine to purine. And this will provide a uniform distance between 2 strands. Which are the purines, children? Which are the purines? Sharon?
Adenine and guanine.
I can't see you. Where are you? So many videos are of Anthony, Nia, Naureen, Rijas. Yes, continue.
Adenine and
Naureen?
The ratio between adenine and thymine and guanine and cytosine are constant and equal to 1.
Steffi?
The length of the DNA is based on the number of nucleotide present in it.
Okay. So we completed all the points that we covered. Nia wants to see the second last slide. No, I'll just show that. This was the second last slide. This one was the second last one. And then so this one, purine comes opposite to pyrimidine. This gives uniform distance between the 2 strands, and here both the strands or both the chains, polynucleotide chains, are coiled in a right-handed fashion. Pitch of the helix is 3.4 nanometer. The number of base pairs in each turn is 10, and the distance between 2 consecutive base pairs is 0.34 nanometer. And there are 2 factors that provide stability to the double helical structure. One is the arrangement, the pattern of arrangement of these base pairs. They are stacked one above the other, and the other point is, or the other feature is, the presence of hydrogen bonding between these base pairs. So both will provide stability to the double helical model. And here we saw the structure of DNA, and this structure is given in your textbook also. You should know to draw this. Okay, if you learn just one, if you, just a minute. If you know this one, then no need to worry about learning the entire one. It's just a repetition with a difference in the nitrogen bases. So just one you learn, remaining, you can extend the length of DNA. Like any length, you can just continue extending it if you know the pattern of arrangement. The same is getting repeated, but always remember the base pairing. So that should not go wrong. If the base pairing, you need not do as it is given here. Any combination, but always adenine with thymine and cytosine with guanine. So that you should remember, and you can easily draw it. Just one nucleotide only you need to learn, or just the first line or the first part, first nucleotide of both you need to know. Even if you know this, that's more than enough. The polarity you need to check. Here it is starting with 5 prime, then it should start with 3 prime. Remaining, you can just keep on adding. Okay. So once it was asked to make a neat label sketch of the structure of DNA, so you should know. So please learn it. Okay. Always remember, one is 5 prime to 3 prime, the other one is 3 prime to 5 prime. They have anti-parallel polarity. Now, distance between two consecutive base pairs is 0.34 nanometer. And you can calculate the length of the DNA using the formula total number of base pairs into distance between consecutive base pairs. So already it is given the distance between the consecutive base pairs. So if you know the number of base pairs, you can easily calculate the total length of the DNA. Once again, if you need to calculate the length, you should know the number of base pairs and the distance between the two consecutive base pairs. And if the total length and distance is given, you can calculate the total number of base pairs. So out of these 3 values, if 2 you know, you can find out the third one. The number of base pairs in a typical mammalian cell, number of base pairs is given here. The number of base pairs is given here. So you can easily calculate the length, because number of base pairs into distance which is already given. Okay. So number of base pairs. So nanometer, it is converted to like into 10 raised to minus 9 per base pair. 6.6 of both values are made uniform. 6.6 into 10 raised to 9 base pairs into 0.34 into 10 raised to minus 9 per base pair, and you will get the answer is 2.2 meters. So out of these 3 values, length of the DNA, total number of base pairs, distance between two consecutive base pairs. Any 2 values, if you know, you can easily find out the third value. Here the number of base pairs is given, and you know the distance between the 2 consecutive base pairs. So it is easy to find out the length of the DNA. And similarly, in E. coli, length of the DNA is given, and you need to calculate the number of base pairs. Length of DNA is given, and the distance you know between 2 consecutive base pairs, that we know already. That is common. That is 0.34 nanometer or 0.34 into 10 raised to minus 9. And if the total length we know, we can easily find out the number of base pairs. If length is given, you can find out the number of base pairs. And if the number of base pairs is given, you can find out the length of DNA, because already the third value, that is the distance between 2 consecutive base pairs, is a non-value. Are you getting it, children? Did you understand what I said? Three values, that is To find out the total length, you should know the number of base pairs and the distance between two consecutive base pairs. And the distance between two consecutive base pairs is 0.34 into 10 raised to minus 9. That is a known value. Then with this value in hand, if you know the length of the DNA, you can find out the number of base pairs. And if number of base pairs is known, you can find out the length of the DNA. You can expect questions also as objective type questions or 1 mark or 2 mark questions. So you should know that. Any doubts? No doubts. And don't get confused between the values. 34 Armstrong. 3.4 nanometer, 0.34 nanometer. What is 3.4 nanometer? What is 3.4? Which value is 3.4 nanometer? Punya?
Pitch of helix.
Yes, pitch. You were covering the mouth with wire, so I couldn't make out. Now we can. Okay, pitch pitch of the helix is 3.4 nanometer, but the distance between two consecutive base pairs is 0.34 nanometer. So don't get confused. It's already time now, children. Yes. Hope you all have prepared well for your test. Full marks for everyone. After correcting the papers, I will get a shock. It will be a surprise for me. 2 ways you can surprise me, either by scoring good marks or by scoring very low marks. I expect good marks, and children, any doubts you have, you can either inform the invigilator or you can message in that group, our group. Understood, no? So I will be checking that. Even if I can't join the meeting, I'll keep checking that group. So if any doubts are there, you can post it over there and I will clarify. Why I told you to post in the group is that same doubts others also might be having. So I need not repeat it again and again. Any clarification needed, any doubts you have, you can post it over there. Okay, last time I came to know that you had doubt, but you did not ask. No, Punya? Last time there was some confusion. So this time that should not happen. Any doubts you post it there, I'll keep checking it. Thank you, children. See you next class. And next class, after your periodic test, whenever we are having next class, we'll continue with the seminar, and also we'll have a test paper on organisms and populations that I'll let you know. Okay. But this topic, till where we have completed, you have to learn it thoroughly. Otherwise, what will happen is all these are just the basic things or the introduction part. If you haven't understood this, as we proceed, as we go into the details, you will not understand anything. So make it thorough when you join for the next class. So thank you, children.